Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Lesson 5, Introduction to Socioeconomic Groups and Lifestyle Profiles, part of Component 1, Exploring Media Products, Creative Media Production, BTEC. So, as always, you should have your audience map out. Remember, this audience map is a visual reference to allow you to think about a target audience when you're watching a media product. So it's always good to have a little bit of an emphasis on it. But as we've gone through things, we've gone through demographics and uses and gratification theory, but now we're just going to focus on this socioeconomic scale. Right? So the socioeconomic scale is based around three factors. Okay, the first factor is income, how much money you earn. Then that is linked to an occupation, and then your level of education. So essentially, as you earn more, as you get a better education, you can get a better job, and therefore you go up the socioeconomic scale. So what I want you to do is a little bit of a do now task. Is I want you to look at these different occupations, and I want you to rank them in order from highest to lowest based on what you think their income and education level is. So we have electricians, we have a bank clerk, we have an NP, we have surgeons, we have a carpenter, we have pensioners, we have a bin man, we have bank managers, we've got store sales clerks, we've got the postman, we've got the unemployed, and we've got a teacher. Alright, so pause the video, rank them highest to lowest based on income and education. Good. So today's learning objectives and learning outcomes. To understand the socioeconomic groups and lifestyle profiles and learning objectives, you must be able to understand socioeconomic groups and lifestyle profiles, and you should be able to analyse products to support application of socioeconomic groups and lifestyle profiles, and you could be able to apply socioeconomic group and lifestyle profiles to different products. This is again part of learning aim A of your BTEC, alright, looking into products and starting to deconstruct them and how they're engaging audiences. So part of the do now task, you were asked to sort of assemble all of those jobs in highest to lowest. So here's the answers. Generally surgeons and MPs, they're at the top. They've got quite a high level of education, and obviously surgeons, you need to spend years and years at university to become one. Excuse me. Then next round you've got teachers and bank managers. Beneath that you've got your store sales clerks, your bank clerk, and carpenters, electricians not far behind, postmen and bin men, and then last on that scale would be the unemployed and pensioner. Now, if we look at these in relation to the socioeconomic scale, all right, they link up. So if you are in socioeconomic scale A, all right, you are going to be your surgeons and your MPs. All right, if you are teachers and bank managers, you are going to be in socioeconomic group B. Right, if you are store clerks and you are working within banks but are not a bank manager, then you will be in C1. Okay, now this group ABC1 generally has a higher than normal disposable income, so they're able to spend their money on hobbies and pastimes and buy things and invest in things that will some would argue enrich their life. Alright, so if people have got money to spend, then advertisers are more willing to advertise towards them because they know that they can influence their buying habits. Below that you've got your postmen, you've got your carpenters and electricians. They are part of C2. Alright, so socioeconomic scale C2 or economic group C2. Then you've got unskilled manual workers like your postmen and your bin men, and then you've got the unemployed or people that are on low income, so your pensioners. These are not pensioners that have private pensions. These are generally pensioners that are on state pension, and the unemployed and those on benefits, generally those of low income. right? So that is essentially a brief sort of discussion about how socioeconomic scale works, and it's based on, as I said, income and education, right? So the more educated you are, the better jobs you can go for, therefore the more income that you have, and the nicer things that you can buy in life, and things that you can do in holidays, etc. And this is just a way that producers think about, and especially within the advertising and marketing world, how products can target audiences. And what we've known from previous lessons is that producers are already thinking about target audiences via their demographics, so age, gender, ethnicity. What this is another way of profiling an audience and categorizing them, all right, based on occupation and income. So that's where the two elements that we need to focus on, expanding our audience knowledge and knowledge of that producers have. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and apply this socioeconomic group. So we're going to watch two Christmas adverts from 2015. One is the John Lewis advert, Man in the Moon, and the other is the House of Fraser advert. Now, because of YouTube guidelines, I'm not going to be playing these. I'll be going through the first one with you and then leaving you to your own devices for the second one. But firstly, what we're going to watch is, if you click on that link, the John Lewis, or it's in the description below, it will take you to that advert. If you're using the PowerPoint with this lesson, then you can just click on the box and it will hyperlink it to you. And what I want you to do is watch it, and I want you to think about who the primary demographic is, right? Who is their target audience for each advert? So what age, gender, ethnicity they are. Now, this is really important because it's recalling your previous knowledge, all right? And then I want you to think about what the purpose of the media product is. Remember those purposes, so whether they're going to do it for a critical acclaim, profit, etc. And then I want you to think about what's going on and what you've just learnt today, and who you feel is the target socioeconomic groups. So click on the link, pause the video, have a watch. So, ladies and gentlemen, you should have watched the John Lewis advert. Maybe you shed a tear. I know that lots of people do. But now we're going to focus on who the primary demographic audience is, looking at age, gender and ethnicity. Now, the primary target audience is essentially 30 plus, both males and females. Now, because there is a lack of ethnic diversity in there, you can argue that John Lewis is targeting a sort of white majority middle class ethnic demographic. Sorry, I had to swallow there. As much as that's a stereotype, but you can also pull on things like the Oasis soundtrack that is used to punctuate the narrative. This was formed in the 90s, and therefore if they are a family, which clearly they look to be in the advert, then a band from the 90s, they would be 30 plus now, 40s to be able to have children, and children of the age of the kid that's in there. And so therefore this song will be familiar to them and may bring a new meaning from a meaning that they've already created themselves. So if we think about the characters, another way we can look at the advert and start to ascertain the primary target audience, we've got a little girl, probably around the age of 10, 11. We've got a setting of a sort of middle class house. It's larger than normal, and we've also got an old man, the Man in the Moon. So it is looking at people with families, maybe people with young children, people that are quite affluent, so and generally people that are old. So it's audiences that may have older family members, for example. Now, when we're thinking about the purpose, well, what is the purpose? Generally, on any advert, it's to make profit. All right. So it's John Lewis is a commercially run company. It wants to make profit. and so that's one of the main purposes behind it. But it's also to raise awareness. This advert was made, and we'll go into a lot more detail in this next lesson, but this advert was made in conjunction with Age UK. Alright, so it was a synergy of creating awareness of that, of loneliness, and that there are a lot of old people on their own around this time of year. But it's also been created for critical acclaim. You know, John Lewis have won a lot of adverts, Adverts awards since their main production company took over. I think it's D&M Productions. People have been looking forward to the John Lewis advert. It's almost a signifier that Christmas is starting, a bit like the Coca-Cola "Holidays Are Coming" advert. So essentially, critical acclaim is another purpose behind the advert. Now, when we start thinking about targeting the socioeconomic groups, what we have to look at first is the narrative. So the audience are introduced first of all to the main protagonist or the character, a little girl, and then they're introduced to this girl trying to get the attention of her brother, and feeling out of place, you know, feeling left out as her brother plays computer games. And then she goes off to try and entertain herself, and she sees something, a reflection on the moon, which she investigates further, and then suddenly she's introduced to this elderly protagonist, so this other character, literally the man in the moon. Alright, so it's really a metaphor for those loved ones that we don't necessarily see all the time, because we're at school, our family have jobs, we may only see them every couple of weekends, but it's about trying to think about those people. And also, she is very similar to him. She's being ignored by her brother, she's alone, she wants someone to talk to, so she's going to try and reach out to him. Right, so there are long shots that reinforce this, that create this kind of sense of isolation. And there's also technical elements such as a match cut. Alright, so a compositional match cut between his eyes looking back at Earth and her looking at the moon. Alright, so it shows that there's a connection, it connotes this connection between the two of them. So it's almost as if it is a family member. Then we see a POV from the little girl's point of view, which showcases a ladder looking, or sort of signifying going towards the moon. So then she tries to go to the moon to deliver this message, to make sure that the man realises that he isn't alone, as that inspires her. So she tries all these different things, bows and arrows, trying to shoot messages up, and then eventually she manages to find a way of getting it there on all of these balloons, and the man, what she's given the man is a present of a telescope, and so therefore they can look at one another now and know that they are not alone. So it really is a sort of metaphor for loneliness, really, and thinking about loved ones in the holiday period. But this has a socioeconomic appeal, those to family and those family members. There are elements within it that we can think about, that we can see as it goes on. Alright, it's not just the high production values, the fact that it's shot in widescreen and high definition on very good quality cameras. Alright, so that itself showcases an element of quality, and that the audience themselves are interested in that quality, and therefore people that can spend money looking at the setting. You've got a typical middle class house that's furnished with nice pieces and has essentially looks like it's been designed. So the people that would afford to be able to afford this style of house and interior would be your ABC1 economic groups. Alright, your high ranking managers, your middle managers in public service, and your junior managers and supervisors. Alright, also you can look at the props. The fact they've got lots of Christmas presents under the tree connotes that they can buy presents, that they are able to facilitate a really good expensive Christmas. The fact you've got a party scene, and then you've got the John Lewis advert right at the end, the graphics. showing the hashtag of social media, showing that you can be in store, online and mobile, showing that you've got a technologically advanced group, a target audience. But essentially that allows for many different avenues for the socioeconomic scale to actually be able to get access to the products. So hopefully you're starting to see that socioeconomic groups can be used to target based on profiles. And if we were thinking about that, we'd look and say, well, this is focused on surgeons, teachers, MPs, store clerks, bank managers and bank clerks, because they have got more money. All right, they've got more money than most people in terms of being able to spend that on things and interests that they would like. So now we've gone through the Man in the Moon together. Have a go at trying to do what I've shown you, but for the House of Fraser advert. Okay, so pause this video, go back to the House of Fraser advert and just watch it and have a little look in identifying those different elements. Okay, so glad you've made some notes on that. One of the other ways that media producers look at target audience is they write a lifestyle profile. All right, and this usually describes their typical audience by their interests, opinions, behaviours and lifestyle choices of the audience. So I managed to find a graphic that illustrates John Lewis's lifestyle profile, right? And what it says is that generally their target audience is 44% male and 56% females. 39% are under 34. 28% are 55 plus. All right, their customers generally earn around 30,000 or less, but 58% earn in excess of £30,000 a year. So they've got quite a high affluent ABC1 demographic, looking at the average salary of a teacher and a bank clerk, and you think that C1 would be under that 30,000. They know what their customers like. They know that they're looking to invest in brands, so they are homeowners. They want to invest in nice quality pieces for their wardrobes, so they're interested in brands such as like Barber jackets and John Lewis furniture. And the more that you look up these things, the more that you can understand how it starts to make more sense. And essentially, a bit of a top tip here is if you're looking into a company or media product, then what you need to do is jump onto Google and search for a media pack or a customer profile. Okay, these will give you all the statistics and essentially the lifestyle profile of the target audience. It's very important though that you kind of generate this as a skill. You should be able to see interests, opinions, and identify audiences being a media student and studying the media, especially if you want to go and do it as a job, because it's sort of there. You know, media producers think about it automatically. Other people might create the media packs and customer profiles, but they know it, all right? They'll know it inside out. So what your main task, all right, you've already started on part one of it, all right, is to watch that House of Fraser advert and then identify who the primary target audience is, age, gender, ethnicity, what the purpose of the media product is, and who you feel is the target audience in terms of socioeconomic groups, making sure that you can support the evidence from the media product itself. And then what I want you to do is I want you to basically create a lifestyle profile. This lifestyle profile should be of your typical audience, all right? The typical audience for House of Fraser. And so if you look at House of Fraser, it should give you an idea about what the target audience interests are, opinions, behaviours and lifestyle choices. You can also draw what they typically look like, what elements they might have, phones, etc., so that you really understand the difference between profiling and applying demographics and socioeconomic scales. Give yourself about 45 minutes to complete this task. and make sure that you upload it, take a picture of it, put it into a PowerPoint, upload it to Teams or Show My Homework under the relevant folder as described on Show My Homework. So pause now, give yourself 45 minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson and you've got a better understanding about socioeconomic groups and lifestyle profiles. Assess where you are on the learning objectives. Maybe try and visit the BBC Bite Size website to get a little bit more information if you're still struggling. But hopefully you enjoyed it, and I shall see you next lesson.